everybody, Elizabeth here at the Kenai Community Library coming at you with another cast iron cooking. So today we're going to do vegetables. Vegetables are pretty easy in your cast iron skillet. You just have to heat it up, put a little bit of butter in, a little bit of oil, and then put in your veggies how they cook. So today we're going to keep it kind of simple. We're going to put in some garlic, a little bit of onion, some carrot, and some broccoli. So first off, what I've already done is I've peeled and chopped my garlic. And then I wanted to show you how to do your onion. I have my onion in half. And I'm going to do literally four cuts. So we do 1, 2, 3, 4. And when we stick it in our bowl, what you'll see is that we have some nice large chunks similar to what you would get if you would get a stir fry from Chinese or Asian cooking. So we're just going to break these up a little bit. They'll break up even more when we stick them in the cast iron and get them cooking and warm. So there's our onion. Next we're going to take our broccoli, and because we're going to cut the end off, we're going to cut it all somewhat in the same size. Then what we just have to do is put them all in together. So I am just going to cut my broccoli like this. So what I have is somewhat uniform pieces. Some of them won't be, and that's fine. Don't worry about it. What you're going to do is just make sure that you have some nice good flat surface area, and we'll stick that all in our bowl. And I'm just going to cut these in half, and I like to cook with my stems. If you don't have to put them in. And we're just going to put it all in the same bowl, because by cutting them all somewhat evenly in the same size, then what we're going to be able to do is make sure that they all cook in the same time frame. So there's our broccoli. Next up, we're going to do our carrot, and we're going to cut the tops off of our carrot like so. And then I'm going to try very carefully not to cut my fingers and to kind of slice this carrot to the best of my ability. And don't worry if your carrot slices aren't perfect. Your carrot, I think personally, is the hardest one to do, especially if you don't have a pretty julienne slicer at home. So do your best. Your carrot might be a little bit less undercooked, but as with all cooking, it's kind of a live and learn, and it's a lot of practice. So the joys of also cooking is you get to eat. Alrighty, so now that we're outside, we've got our pot warming up, and as you can tell, I'm putting my hand back kind of in just to check. We've got some heat going. So I grabbed 2 tablespoons of butter. We're going to put in a little bit of butter. And so our butter doesn't burn, we're going to put in about a tablespoon of olive oil. And then we're just going to let it melt. Okay, now that our butter is melted in with our oil, we're going to put in our garlic. Okay, so as we can see, our garlic is kind of cooking. And we don't want it to burn. We want to get a little bit on the brown side. Okay, so as you can see, we can really I can smell my garlic, and you'll be able to smell your garlic too. And it's getting kind of a little bit opaque and a little bit cooked. So now that that's happening, and I don't want to overcook it or burn it, because then you get kind of a weird taste. And now, because we've cut all of our vegetables about the same size, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dump my whole entire thing in here. And then all you do is you kind of stir it. You want to get your garlic kind of mixed in there. Get your butter on everything. Get your little bit of your oil. And by rotating it, what you do is you put the stuff that's on the bottom goes onto the top. And then you just kind of watch it and let it cook. Stirring it on occasion to make sure that the stuff on the bottom gets flipped up. And I'm not sure you can hear it kind of sizzling and crackling. You're also going to get a couple different pops because, as you know, vegetables are full of water. So the water's going to get kind of cooked out, and so you could hear that pop when it hits your oil. You can even, if you kind of want to steam it a little bit, is you can even put a lid over it while you're letting it sit. So that way it kind of steams as well. We don't quite have a pot lid, so we're just going to let it cook like this. And you can tell your onions are done when they get kind of a little bit of an opaque look to them, just like your garlic. And your broccoli will actually turn almost a little bit of a deeper green color. Carrots are kind of the hard one to tell, but normally they get kind of a little bit orangey. A little bit more orangey, right? It's kind of a brighter pop. And seeing it is believing it. And I'm sure you can see all this nice steam that's coming out too, because it's a little bit cooler day today, so all this steam is all the water that's cooking out of your vegetables. You can also add a little bit of soy sauce as it's cooking, a little bit of Mongolian beef sauce. You know, that's if you want to add a little bit of flavor to it. Whatever flavor you want, just add a little bit because it'll travel throughout everything, get cooked in. And a little bit, especially with vegetables, goes a long way. A good way also to kind of check if your carrots are done is you can either take your knife or a fork and see how easily it goes in. If it goes in easily, then they're pretty much cooked. If it takes a little bit of pressure, then you probably want to leave it for a couple minutes. And you notice how when I started it was like big and it was actually almost filling the pot, and see how much it's actually reduced down, and that's from all the water and actually the vegetables cooking out. My broccoli's starting to look done. My onions are starting to look done. My carrots are probably going to be hit or miss just because I have a hard time cutting carrots. You might have an easier time cutting carrots. Carrots are always kind of the weird vegetable because you don't want them too mushy, but you don't want them rock hard either. You want them to have a nice crunch. A nice soft crunch. And it smells really good with the garlic. We really haven't burnt the garlic, even though you might think we have, because we've added all the other vegetables. So when we added the other vegetables, we actually cooled the garlic and stopped it cooking. And by keeping it stirred, anything that was on the bottom gets off. And that's actually starting to look really, really good. You can see that our onions are kind of brown on the top and getting a little bit opaque in the center. Oh, and look at my little tiny piece of carrot. That looks good and cooked. Alrighty guys, these are looking pretty well done to me. So I'm going to turn off my skillet. I'm going to tip it up here for you to see. So there's your stir-fry vegetables in your cast iron skillet. Also remember that when you turn your pot off, your stovetop off, your skillet's still going to be hot, so it's still going to cook for a couple more seconds. If you want to slow that down a little bit more, move it to a cooler burner. Don't forget when you're using your cast iron to use plastic or wood, and don't forget to clean it, oil it, and store it safely again. Join us next time as we make some gravy to go with our finale, which is going to be steak.